Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AJC and the Web Devs. Today we got Brandon Roberts. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm good, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is something we've been working on getting together for a while. Had to reschedule a couple times, but I'm really happy to do this. This is going to be fun for me. This will be the first time I'll be ever writing any Angular code, and I cannot think of a better person to have here to walk me through this. You have a long career in the Angular world,
Yeah.
and you've done all sorts of open source stuff, worked for numerous companies. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us all know who you are?
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Brandon Roberts. I'm Brandon T. Roberts on Twitter. Yeah, I've done a good bit in the Angular community. I'm a GDE, which kind of solidifies that as somebody who contributes to a lot in the Angular community. I've worked on a few open source projects. One of them is NGRX, which is a set of libraries for building reactive Angular applications. Me and of course other people on the team, but been on that project for a few years. And yep, done a lot of like contributing Angular. Latest project is called Analog, which we'll kind of talk about further. And I kind of let out the slide announcement this morning, but yeah, just moved to head of engineering at Open Source, working with Brian Douglas or B Dougie, who know him more familiar by that name. But yep, pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Brian's a good friend, so very happy to see that. I'll drop some links in the chat here. And by the way, I'm hearing a little bit of crackling on your mic.
Okay.
I'm not. Sounds like some digital artifacts. I'm not sure what is
Yeah,
causing that,
it's
but
probably StreamYard here. Let me check. Let me check 1 second.
and while you're doing that, I will put some links in the chat. There's your Twitter right here. And then you've got a Dev2 account as well. And then Analog itself, which we will be talking about. You can see right here. Let me
Okay,
know
cool.
when
What
you're.
about now?
Sounds good so far. By the way, what does the T stand for?
Okay, cool. The T in Brandon T. Roberts.
Yeah,
It's my middle name. It's Theodore.
Theodore. Nice. Yeah, I'm still hearing that
Okay.
the sound.
Yeah, I'm
Not
not
sure.
sure what's going on there. Let's see. I think I've had this issue on StreamYard before. Let's see. Let me know if you still hear it here. Maybe I'll try to switch here and see if that'll clear it up.
Sounds good so far.
Okay, so no crackling at the moment.
No.
Okay, cool. We'll try to keep things like this and see if that works out.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So, why don't you give just a little bit of an open source pitch real quick, and then we can get into Angular and Analog.
Yeah, sure. For those who haven't heard of open source before, we are all about open source and highlighting contributors and developers in open source. So if you go to our main thing is open source insights, where you can go to insights.opensource.pizza, and you can connect your GitHub profile there and create a user profile. And it's all about highlighting contributions. So you can go and create highlights of things that you've done in open source. And you can also look at the repositories and get some insights on those. But like I said, the biggest thing is about helping people find the best engineers in open source, and highlighting people who are contributing and giving them like a platform to show the cool things that they worked on. So yeah, I definitely recommend people go sign up an account. It's free, and of course you can track some repos there, and definitely post your open source highlights, because we definitely want to promote those too.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this project taken off because this is something that both you and I have been watching kind of Brian build just like
Mm-hmm.
on stream for years now, and it's trippy for me because I was just getting into like open source and all this stuff when I first met Brian, and he was working on this back then when he was still working for GitHub, and now it's like a legit company, and there's
Mm-hmm.
investors, and there's a team now that's actually like getting paid to do it. So it's
Yep.
it's super cool to see that progression. And it shows that if you're willing to grind and you're willing to like work on something seriously, you can turn a side project into like a serious, legit
Mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah, for sure. The list of think of people, of course, is definitely long that Brian has helped along the way in open source. You and me both, and like I said, this is kind of the next progression in that story, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to see how we can keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, and who else is on the team right now?
Right now, it's Brian, of course, and me, and Ted is also on the team, and then we have a few other people contributing from the community. People, we have, of course, people from the open source community contributing, and then a few other people working on it also.
Cool. Yeah, and Ted, people might recognize as -1 Vortex is his
Hmm.
GitHub handle and Twitch handle. You'll see him hanging around the community, and he's the kind of build wizard.
Yep, Ted, the infrastructure lead on open source. He's definitely takes charge of the tooling and the infrastructure and everything, and he does that stuff that some of that stuff that I don't want to dive into too much. So I'm glad he's there.
Yeah, he gets into the guts of the complicated stuff. I remember having a
Hmm.
long conversation with him about Yarn versus NPM because he wanted to make everything NPM only, and I was like, "Well, if you want to use Redwood, that's not really an option." So
Oh,
it's where you
really?
get into those. Yeah, I mean that's more of a fault of Redwood than a fault of open source. Where we were originally kind of using Yarn because at the time, like NPM, this because Redwood's old. Like Redwood was started like 5 years ago, and so there
Hmm.
was no NPM workspaces at the time, and like PNPM had maybe had been invented but wasn't even being used that much. So if you wanted to do something with like a monorepo with like two package.jsons, then you
Hmm.
needed to use Yarn. It was the only way to do it. And now obviously you can do it with NPM or Yarn or PNPM. And so people try and make their things agnostic to whatever. But for us, like we just baked everything into the Yarn CLI essentially, and we're
Mm.
upgrading. We ended up upgrading to Yarn 3, which took a lot of effort and help from the team. And at this point, it's like we could make it agnostic, but there just hasn't been kind of like a good enough reason to actually
Hmm.
like sit down and do the work. So we're kind of stuck right now in this Yarn only world. But if we get enough people complaining at some point, we'll switch and make it agnostic. But this is kind of the first time it ever even come up, and they're like, "Well, we really want to use NPM." I was like, "Okay, well, sorry."
Yeah, I had switched on to using Yarn like a while back just because it was I felt like it was more predictable at the time when between Yarn and npm as far as like resolving dependencies and things. So I kind of started using Yarn and kind of stuck with it. So I still use it on. I'm like a mix. I use it on some projects here, but I've definitely gotten accustomed to using it. But like I said, I run npm, and then people have been trying to get me on the pnpm train also. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I liked Yarn over NPM for a while just because it was just faster. Like NPM is
Hmm.
just really slow for whatever reason. There's like some kind of fundamental infrastructure reasons I think why that is, and the problem with Yarn came with then the upgrades where they had Yarn 2 and everyone was like, we're not going to do this. And so the community kind of like wholesale rejected Yarn 2, which is
Hmm.
something that I've never really seen before. Where just like everyone was just like, we're not going to upgrade. Like we refuse to do this
I'm
upgrade.
I'm in the same camp. I'm still on Yarn 1.22 or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and then Yarn 3, that so they realized that, and then they redid things to where upgrading from Yarn 1 to 3 is actually easier than 1 to 2 or 2
Mm.
to 3. So they kind of let people like leapfrog it. And then the only problem is there's a specific file you need now. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's something like yarn RC, but I don't think that's specifically it. But there's a specific file you need, and if that file is not there and you try and run the yarn command, then it just like crashes. So
Oh.
that is like the one thing I'm like, man, like this is this one issue that is like really, really obnoxious. And now if you try and get people to use Yarn 3, then it's
Hmm.
going to crash and they're going to be super confused and not know why. So I was like, now I use it PM for like everything. I am
Hmm.
a big fan because it's
PNPM is
super fast.
super. Yeah, PNPM
Yeah.
is super fast, and I've definitely seen it firsthand. So I definitely want to take another look at switching to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. If anyone is out there in the chat, please say hey. Let's get into analog now. So, yeah, people who know you, they know you're very involved in the Angular community.
Hmm.
And what's up, Brent? And I think that some people will have kind of wondered, like, when is Angular going to get a meta framework? This is something that, I was always kind of curious about. So, Siege, Christopher from T3 hanging out with
Yes.
us. And yeah, so you built the Angular meta framework. I know there's been an Angular static site generator in the past, Scully, but there
Hmm.
hasn't been a kind of like SSR, like API route kind of thing with like, obviously anyone who watches the stream is going to be someone who's already familiar with things like Next.js and Nuxt and SvelteKit.
Hmm.
So it's a pretty clear pitch, I think, what analog is for and like what it does. But I guess I'd be curious, like, what made you feel like you needed to be the person to do this?
Well, that is a great question. I I have been thinking about it. Well, I guess I'll take a step back. I didn't want to be necessarily want to be the person that had to do it. But I had been talking about it for a while, just like on Twitter and just for a while since like as you said, we've seen the meta frameworks. Of course, they've been around for a while already, but they just kind of grown in popularity. And of course, Angular has been in the web framework space for a long time, and then but Angular didn't have a meta framework, so I talked about it, and I think a few things kind of came along that kind of gave me the push to kind of put it together. And one of those things was Angular moving to like a simpler component model, which they're called them standalone components, but and we can when we get into the app itself, we can look at that. But that was one thing to where components in Angular can be defined with their like with things they depend on just on its own. So that was one thing, and then there was another thing that came along with, of course, Vite was like the big driver of everything. Vite and ESM support and the really nice developer experience was another piece of it there, and the fact that I kind of wanted this to happen. So I kind of went and started digging and trying to see, what the viability of it was to kind of use Vite as like the platform as opposed to Webpack, which is what Angular uses today, primarily to see if we could put something together for a meta framework in that way. So I kind of went down that path and I got some things together. I was actually looking at some of the source code in the current Angular CLI to see how because they have an ES build builder also in Angular. So it gave me some hints about because Vite uses ES build under the hood also. So that gave me some hints there about how to do it. So I was able to look at that kind of course, open source, paying it forward again, put those pieces together, and like build the foundation for the meta framework there. So analog is uh, my pitch at Angular having a meta framework in this space because usually Angular is like the one the one framework that's left out on the island, not following or not going along with everybody else. So I wanted Angular to have a space in that area also.
Yeah, you actually managed to beat Redwood to the to beat. We're gonna be one of the last holdouts. We have an experimental Vite support right now for
Mm-hmm.
version 4, and I remember last year watching ViteConf and just like seeing all the frameworks that were using it and like Redwood being left out, and I'm like, oh man, we're the only ones not here.
Yep.
And now it's like Next.js is the other one because
Well,
the
yeah.
Vercel has hired the Webpack guy, so makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. But you had a VConf talk, right?
Yeah, I did. And that was the title of the talk was Angular Vite Meta Frameworks in Angular, and I kind of went through kind of the thought process about like how Angular works today, because Angular's compilation model is a little bit different than what you use in the Vite project. But like I said, I was able to. They have some similarities there, so I was able to put those two things together and see how you could do that together. And that talk was a really good talk to give because they gave me an opportunity to, like I said, give Angular a space at the conference about projects that are using Vite, because of course Vite was pretty much taking over just about everything at the time. So yeah, gave a talk kind of the backstory of the project and where it was at that point and where the project intended to go from there. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a little slight history on the project itself.
Very cool. Yeah. So before we get into the code, are there any kind of like place setting things or things you want to talk about the project or ways people can get involved or things like that?
Yeah, sure. There are, and you dropped some links in the chat there already. But yeah, if you go to analogjs.org, you can see the docs for the project and the GitHub. You can follow the GitHub repo from there. But yeah, definitely check out the project. Always looking to get new contributors. I think we've crossed over 20, maybe almost 30 contributors at this point for the project. So I try to help people who want to contribute, even if there's like their first open source contribution. Some people, I think, have made their first open source contribution through Analog, which I'm pretty excited about too. So, always looking for contributors, and I'll try to help you out either way. You can join in the Discord, and like I said, you can get to the Discord and everything through the docs also.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely highly recommend anyone who is looking to get involved in open source. This would be a really great project, I think, especially for someone who, wants to get involved with something that's kind of in the ground floor. Hello.
Hmm.
And I think that's really the thing you want to do if you want to get involved in open source is like contributing to React today is just,
Yeah.
beyond what most people could do. And it's like, even figuring out what to contribute and being able to write that and like have the correct tests and get the buy-in from the team. Like that's just huge. But for a project like this, they just have all they need is buy-in from you. That's then
Yep.
that'll be
Pretty
all that's
much.
required.
Just
Yeah.
dive into those issues on GitHub or even in the Discord, and I'm like I said, I'm pretty much always around looking to see what people are talking about. So yeah, definitely easier to get in and contribute on the ground floor, which you've had like a few people that have done that already, which I'm super excited about.
Very cool. Okay, cool. We got a couple more people hanging out with us now. I think I'm going to transition us to some code here. Let's see. Hopefully, all my permissions and whatnot are still good. Ooh, that's not good.
That's always the thing you want to hear when you're about to have to switch over to show some code or something, or have the StreamYard or the Mac tells you need meta permissions or things like that. So
Yeah, right.
always things to work through.
This is I had recently gone back and kind of redid all my permissions on my computer
Hmm.
here. So I just gotta check. Um, yeah, it's gonna take me just a quick second to figure out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about ngconf? Are you gonna be going to that?
Yes, I will be at NGConf. NGConf is June 14th and 15th, I believe. I always I don't know if I got the dates correct, but it's in the middle of June. I'll start there. But yes, I will be giving a talk at NGConf about analog also, which if you want more analog content, you can definitely check it out at NGConf. The name of the talk is across the web stack, Angular across the stack with analog. So kind of digging into some of the like I said, more of the story behind analog, some of the features that it has, some things I would like to see it like grow into in the future, and just continue, like I said, continue on this journey that I started, because I've been working on the project for about maybe about seven, like actively working on it for about 7 months now. So, and that was like first, at least first, like contributing some code on GitHub and everything. But I probably hacked around on it a little bit before then, just to try to get things off the ground. So, and then there's been other integrations that have come along that I've kind of worked on as Analog has been working on it. One of those things, of course, being Astro, which is everybody's favorite, like static site builder these days. And I wanted to create an integration for that, and that came along with Astro's migration to Vite also, which allowed me to kind of slot in and figure out how their plugin system worked, and kind of allow you to be able to use Angular components inside an Astro project also, and kind of keep that about as seamless as possible. So, and then we kind
Awesome.
of done some of those things in Analog too.
Okay, I think I got this. I think the stream will keep going when I hop off and on, so just give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Hello, friends. If you're watching this, I don't know if you're streaming this on YouTube or not, but if you see this later, go ahead and hit the. I'm doing my YouTube pitch. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe on the video, or just share it with your friends, and then we'll keep the train rolling. When that gets back, I don't have any elevator music, but I do know how to monologue. So there, Annie's back. I took over the show for 5 seconds, and then there we were.
All right, cool. Well, it looks like we only lost 2 viewers in that span of time. So that's pretty good. All right, cool. Let me get some stuff open again. Twitch TV, web dev, chat. Thank you all for bearing with us.
Yep. The streamers know how it goes when you get on. You open up their tabs and things, and then streamers like, I don't think you would want to share your screen right now. So I'm gonna have to make you like restart everything.
Yep. Cool. Simona's talk at ngconf was great. First class integration. Do you know who's Simona?
Yes. Simona Cotton is the engineering manager on the Angular team, and
Okay.
she's great. I will say that up front, because I've worked with her before and met her in person. So shout out to Simona for her talk. And she was probably referring to the image directive that has landed in Angular that gives it something sort of similar to next image, to where it'll hook up with all the image CDNs to give you some nice performance when you're
Gotcha.
loading images and things. So if you're, like I said, if you're using Angular, definitely check that out too.
Cool. Yeah, having that image component is huge. I remember I would talk to Christopher Burns, my podcast co-host. He would talk about Gatsby's image component, and it was like a religious experience for him, like how great that image, how much it changed his life, and how he could never migrate away from it until Next created their image component. He's like, finally, now I can leave Gatsby forever. It's like, really, the image component's that important?
Yeah, he said that was the one piece that kept him on the platform. And well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Gatsby, with being acquired by Netlify and everything. But
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so this is the analog homepage. So we've already talked about, it's using Vite, and it's hybrid SSR SSG. So this is something that is a big deal now, is having all different types of rendering. So you could do static site generation, or you could do SSR, but can you do things like, there's now these like on demand, there's this new kind of category that is, an incremental static regeneration or deferred static generation. Each framework has its own term, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I would say that that's not officially supported. We still use I guess the standard static site generation in SSR, but there is some support for I guess some advanced support for doing a mix of the two things, just because of what Analog kind of uses underneath for its server framework. So I don't see a reason why we couldn't support that in the future at some point.
Okay, cool. And it looks like you got a stack blitz
Hmm.
here. I always enjoy these. Gives you a quick way to kind of spin something up and take a look at it. So, is this kind
Yeah,
of the main like online IDE that you use?
yeah, definitely. Stack Blitz is my go-to when I want to spin up something new. I've used it. I guess I've used it for so long. Like I used to work on I was working on the Angular team doing documentation a while back, and we use Stack Blitz for all our examples, and NGRX uses Stack Blitz, so it just kind of brought it forward, and it always like made a really quick way to spin up an app and without having to download anything. So it's definitely great for like reproductions and things. So just like I said, it's usually my go-to.
Yeah, it looks like this might be because I'm streaming. It's taking a little while here, but if people want to check this out, here is the
Yeah,
Stack
you can either
Blitz link.
yeah, you give the StackBlitz link, and you can go also go to, or if you want to paste a link in there, to AnalogJS/new. That'll pretty much forward you to
Oh,
the
nice.
to the StackBlitz link also, but just a little shorter, nicer URL there. And that was actually recommended to me by Matthias from the Veet core team, or I guess most people probably know him as Patak, but
All
yeah,
right, yeah. Mhm.
we kind of collaborated on that just to give people a link to. It came
Yeah,
out of
he
VeeConf
because he
basically.
works for Stack Blitz now,
Hmm.
which is very cool hire for them because I know Stack Blitz was really going big into supporting like every single framework with Vite, and so you have like all these
Hmm.
.news and so like Vite.new and even like Vue.new and stuff like that will now kind of all send you to the Stack Blitz.
Hmm. Yeah, those .new domains are surprisingly expensive for.
Yeah,
uh,
I saw that because I think they're created to like start something up. So I don't know if that
mm,
actually justifies a higher cost or if there's like some fundamental difference with how the DNS works. But yeah, I was looking
yeah.
at that. I wanted to see what like ajcwebdev.new would cost or something like that.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is our docs introduction. So I'm gonna be going with PNPM here. So it looks like we got PNPM create analog, and that will get our thing started up. Is it gonna ask me if I want TypeScript and stuff like that?
No, because you don't have a choice. No, you have to. Angular uses TypeScript out of the box, so
Oh, that's
uh,
right. Yeah,
yeah, you gotta.
you were way ahead of the game. Like Create T3 app was the first time I ever used a project that was like you're not allowed to use JavaScript.
Yes.
All right, 14 or 15. I'm assuming we'll want 15, but
Yep.
is
Yep.
what's
15.
important to note? Like, why would I pick 14 over 15?
14 was it was like the version when I got the project off the ground. So like that's the minimum version that you want to be on, but I would definitely always go with 15, version 15 for now. And then Angular is in the process of like starting to move towards version 16. So I may have like a experimental release throughout that, so you can try the new. You could be on
Okay.
the really bleeding edge with version 16 of Angular. So,
Yeah. By the way, you don't need run for PNPM. You just do PNPM dev.
oh, okay, yeah, I'll have to add that to It's a hey, that's a free PR right there. So,
This should as a real simple one.
yeah.
So let me pop the code open and let's just see what we got here for the main page. Let's see. No, I do not want to share analytics. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell. Well, I guess yeah, still using I guess I haven't. Maybe I've been using Angular too long. I hadn't seen that prompt in a while uh, for the analytics stuff there.
Yeah, it looks like that's for Google.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, still well, and that's part of like the experience that I wanted to put together with analog. Also, I didn't want you to like the of course people in the Angular community are used to having an experience that's close to what that comes with the Angular CLI. So like using ngserve, ngbuild, all those things. Um, I still wanted it to have that similar, like I said, experience there. So being able to
Mhm.
use ngserve and ngbuild and everything kind of lowers people's maybe hesitation about it. And the structure of the project looks pretty similar to what you would see in an Angular project. So
Mhm.
just want to create that common experience there.
Okay. Yeah. So it looks like we have an app folder, a server folder, and assets folder.
Hmm.
And let me just kind of see what we got here. I'm assuming this is going to be our main component here. So
Yep.
if we
And
want
this is
to
our
rewrite this,
yeah, this is and this is what I mentioned before about standalone components in Angular. Of course, Analog has file-based routing, but it just uses Angular components. You just define Angular components as routes here, but standalone components is a big driver of that because you can just define a component and define whatever that component needs to run with standalone, or if you need to bring in any additional things with in Angular using like imports. If you want to bring in third-party libraries or UI components and things like that, or even components that you built yourself and drop them in there, it gives you lets you do all that. Like I said, self-contained in this file. So
interesting. Okay. So my first question would be, is there an extension that I can add that will add some syntax highlighting for this HTML? Or is that not possible?
yes, you can. There is the Angular language service extension is what you want to add there.
Cool. Yeah, something like that seems like a pretty easy
No,
DX win if that's not already a thing that's possible. Okay,
yeah,
this is a lot nicer. Yeah.
I should drop that. Yeah, I should. I can't remember if I had it. If I'm recommending any VS Code extensions in there, also, but that'd be a good thing to add, also, like you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So this so far seems pretty comprehensible to me in terms of like this template is if I was writing React right now, I had a return function. This is where the HTML is,
Hmm.
and then it's bringing in this reactive sort of variable here with count. And then that is being initialized here and then incremented with this function. And the increment function is
Yep.
on and on click. So yeah, I mean, like having done a whole bunch of different front end JavaScript frameworks before, like I can immediately look at this file and basically understand what's going on. The app component, that's a directive
That's a decorator.
decorate. Yeah, I knew it
Yep.
was something to start with a D. And then the things I would be curious about then is what's selector and what's standalone.
Yeah, so the selector is the tag that would be used in the HTML template when the component is rendered. So since these are routes, they would be at the top level of the component tree. So we have our app root there, which is like the topmost component in the application. So that's what your selector would be for that. But if you have other components that you want to use inside of that app root component, you could use them by their selector there.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the title, yeah, this is the index.html is pretty standard stuff here. You mainly use this as a point to wire up if you having if you want to bring in any global styles from a CDN and also your entry point for your application and like the main part where you bootstrap the application, which is the source.main/main.ts.
Awesome. Yes, this is great. This is all very very easy to get spun up with. And
Mm-hmm.
then how do I get to this function right now? Is it going to be /hello or /API hello?
This one would be a/API/v1/hello.
Okay. Why is it V1?
Because it uses the folder structure. The API routes use a folder structure too, so it's inside the
Mm.
server/routes/v1. Yeah, so anything under the server/routes automatically gets prefixed with the /API, and then it
So
follows your path from
So
there.
if I understand what I'm doing here, I should be able to do this and
Hmm.
then do that. Boom. Cool.
Yep.
What is this H3?
H3 is part of the server framework that Analog uses under the hood. So, of course, there's Vite is part of it, and then Nitro is another open source project that
Oh,
it,
that's cool. So Nitro is this is from Nux, right?
yep, Nitro is the server framework under the hood that powers Nux also. And the part of part of, like I said, taking on this journey was not having to rebuild everything from scratch also. So Nitro is there, and the good part about it is Nitro is can be used as a standalone uh, project or library that you can bring into your project. So there was definitely some gluing together of kind of Nitro and Vite to use it within analogs, but yeah, there's definitely it definitely was very useful and allows. And Nitro also has, like I said, a bunch of deployment platforms such as AGL where you can deploy there, and it can just build on top of that, like I said, out of the box. So I didn't have to go through and create a bunch of adapters and
Hmm.
everything there to have that integrated there.
Yeah, I'd be remiss not to shout out one of my coworkers, Rishi. He actually created a video showing how to deploy a Nitro app to Edgio, my company. And so people should definitely check that out. Also want to say hey to Find Out Singularity in the chat. We got a long time Angular guy and someone who we know pretty well from the whole open sauce, general open source kind of world. I had no idea you're streaming. Yeah, no, happy that you're here. I'm doing this. It's been a bit sporadic. This is episode 7, and I started this, maybe 6 months ago or so. The plan was to do once a week, and it ends up being maybe like once a month. But yeah, hopefully we'll get this on to a more regular cadence because I very much enjoy these streams. Very, very fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So we got our app going. We got some API routes. We got a home page. Are there anything you want to like do in this project that we can kind of show off before we get to the deployment step?
Yeah, so we can go through and show creating like a few different kind of routes and everything. Like I said, because this it has that familiar feel with file-based routing. So if you want to go into the routes folder and create another route there, we can do that, and
Sure.
we could even connect it to the uh, API. Yeah, I can do hello.ts there, and if you want to just type at component, uh, or yeah, or we can either just copy the that capital C component there. Yep.
Ooh, interesting.
And just use that as the open parentheses. And then inside, it'll be an object inside that decorator.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of grab
Yeah.
this because that's gonna take me a little while to
Yeah.
get familiar with all this syntax. So let me just kind of do this real
Yeah. You could
quick.
just take all that extra stuff out of there. Yeah. Because it's just showing how you can pretty easily spin up new routes and everything from there. So yeah, you can put some extra text in there for the template there. Uh, yeah, for that part.
And then what should the selector say?
That one can be app dash hello, which, like I said, it's another route component. So it you don't they're not required, or the selectors aren't required unless you. But it does help you if you want to, for like debugging purposes, when you're looking kind of down in the route component tree, what you want to do there. So
And then does this need to say anything like hello component or
yeah, that can be hello component there.
and then
And then you should be able to go to slash hello. You may have to restart
oh,
the
let's
thing
see.
there, but um, restart the dev server there. Yeah. And
What are
so
you
it'll
guys talking about over here?
pick it up.
You managed to get the plow stream going at all. No idea what you're talking about. First few minutes late for release is July. Yeah, totally. Productive month.
But yeah. So yeah, if you go to slash hello,
There we go.
we should yeah. So yeah, that's part of that's there are a few different routes you can create. You can create your static routes, which is just a path star defined, and you can create dynamic routes that use like the parameters that we just use similar syntax where you can enclose them in the square brackets. If you want to have like dynamic parameters, you can do that also.
Let me just take a look at the docs here.
Yeah.
So
So if you go under features and routing and overview, it shows you kind of the different routes you can create, whether it be index routes or
static routes,
dynamic routes. Yeah.
dynamic routes.
Yeah. The blog is usually my go-to for content there. So, which you can
Okay,
also create routes with markdown files also. So we could show that also to go through
cool.
that. But
Also, do you have let me just go back to the Git repo real quick. Something I always find useful is like example apps. Do you have like any kind of canonical example apps that are like easily
yeah,
clonable or anything like that?
there is I'm sure there's some in my yeah. If you want to go to my GitHub account there. Well, I'll drop. Should be able to drop a link in here. 1 second. But yeah, I have. But there is. If you go to, there's a bunch. Of course, a bunch of analog apps under my account here. But I will drop a link in here to one I did most recently.
The one from Open Source Friday.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
And that was one where we just had a few routes and
Yeah, it looks like
we
this already has the blog stuff, and I'm
yeah
just gonna
had a
grab
few
this
routes.
real quick.
Yep, had a few routes there and some content routes. And I can't remember if we enabled server side rendering on that one. I have to look and see, but it wouldn't be too much to. Yeah, this one has SSR and everything in it, so uh,
Excellent.
it'll
This
give you
will
like
give us
a
a little bit of a shortcut here.
yeah.
Yeah, no, this is really great. Like I find that I'm not sure how easy or complicated this would have been to do just from like a vanilla Angular
Hmm.
application, but the kind of conventions you've used, it seems like, is pretty much exactly what I expect. I remember when I first heard you mention this project, I was like, oh, this is going to be like my way to get into Angular because I figured
Hmm.
there would be a lot of like good touchstones for me in terms of understanding what's going on. And so far, it seems like exactly the case. Like this all is pretty dang simple, all things considered. Oh, it looks like you got a bug here.
Oh, bug, of course. Maybe this is of course, maybe this is a PN. Could be an issue with PNP. I'm not sure, but
Is
let's.
node 16 the correct node to be on, or do you need node 18? Are you in the hip node world?
Node 16.19 should work. I believe that's one that I've tried
Okay,
personally. So
let me then kick this back and let's try just npm. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I find that for some reason SSR is just like makes everything harder. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen an error message with beat SSR in it and been like, oh, something's broken.
yes.
I don't know why. Has something to do with SSR. Okay.
Yep, SSR has definitely given me my fair share of challenges there, but we kind of work through them as they come there. So
Okay. Different error this time.
okay, that's cool. We got a big error there. Let's see.
Whoa.
Yeah, we got some.
Really didn't like that one.
Yeah, let's try just like kill that one and then try to run it again and see if we get the same thing. More messages to dig through uh, for that. So yeah, npm run dev. Let's see if we'll get some. If we get the same thing or we get
Yeah, this looks like
a
it's
different one this
same
time.
error.
Okay, cool. Let's see. We may be able to do what's well. You said you have version 3 of Yarn. Yeah, we could try that one. Um,
I mean, no, I'm on version 1 of Yarn.
okay, cool. I know if this doesn't work, then I'll just have to go back to the drawing board and see what's going on there. But version 3 should or version 1 of Yarn, I know it's
Hey, we
been
got CM
tested
Griffin in here. What's up,
to
man? Thanks for
to
joining.
go there.
Yeah, it's funny. We got a different error for PM, and NPM. So it seems like it's something to do with those things, because if it was giving us the same error, then we would
Hmm.
probably assume it's something to do with the actual project, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And this is like just supporting all three package managers is like a full-time job in itself, I
Yes,
swear.
for sure. But yeah, yeah, and I say shout out to Chris, who's in the chat also, along with everyone else. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. But yeah, we walked through, like I said, some of the things here, and hopefully we can get this up and running here. To get that running, yarn dev, you get our ng serve. We'll see if we can get this one up and running or not.
Nope. This is the
Interesting.
same. ES build error.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let's try turning off SSR and
Cool. How do I do that?
yeah, if you go into the vite config down there at the bottom, yes, and just say SSR to false. Right there on line 17. Yeah, if you set that to false, and then try yarn dev again, we'll see if that does a little bit less work, and see if we can get the application up going on there. Okay, we got some a
Okay.
few more dependencies to install, I believe. So I've seen that before. So yeah, if you just do yarn, add,
These
want to
guys.
add Prism.js, or just do Prism.js. It'll have everything
Okay.
that Prism.js, and we'll also need a few more of
Okay.
the marked package and the front dash matter package there.
Okay.
Yeah, just MARKED and front dash matter
Like
should
that.
be, yes, that should be all that you need there. So we got a different, rather on the train. Hey, we got a different error, so we're making progress at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we know we're getting there along the way.
Booyah.
Yeah, so there we go. Uh, so yeah, this one is, like I said, now we can see that the uh, application is there. We can go and look in some of the routes that we had
Great.
here with the blog there. So if you just go to blog slash one, or you can type it there with the ID, whatever you want the ID to be. It could be like
Oh,
my first
interesting.
post. Yeah, my first post or something like that.
Blogging.
Yeah. So we're just looking at this is just one of the, like I said, one of the routes you can do, the dynamic routes, and then the hello.md was just an example of how you could drop just markdown as is in the route and use that. Yeah, so if you just go to slash, or if you go to slash hello, that will just
Slash
give
blog
you,
hello or just slash hello?
yeah, just hello. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
this is just, like I said, just being able to take markdown on its own and being able to use it as a, just as defined as a route, just kind of taking away some of the hurdles that it would be that would get in your way to being able to build something, especially if you're like familiar with Angular also. It gives you these routes and things in place there. So be able to use
Cool.
that. And then
Sweet.
let's see if we can do a build. Let's turn back on SSR and then
Okay.
see if we can do a build. So yeah, just set that back to true. And this was another part that I wanted the experience to be a little more seamless there. If you were able to, yeah, we can skip that part. We'll see if it gets through that part too. But the goal was that, because like today, if you do a build with SSR and Angular, you have to bring in like Angular Universal, which adds a few extra steps there
Okay,
to.
it's saying method promise.prototype then called an incompatible receiver.
Oh yes, okay. Let me see. What version of Node are we on here? That may be, like I said, it's another one of those.
16.19.
Yeah, okay. Let me see what version I'm on, because I've run, like I said, these are some of the things I've had to battle through before. Okay, I'm on 16.17. So you can either go
Okay,
up to like 18.13, but we don't necessarily
let's
have to
do
do that. But
this. Node at 16.17. It's one of the great things about Volta. Makes it very easy
okay.
to flip this on the fly. Let's see what that does.
Yeah, so what the goal would be here to do the SSR, and this will give you the static site and the pre-rendering of the routes there. So
That
yeah,
seemed to have did it.
so we
Which
made it through
actually,
the
real quickly now, I'm curious if the dev command will work.
yeah, yeah, that could have been part of that too. So if
That's
everything is
it looks like it's working even though I'm getting an error. That's interesting.
yeah, that could be
Okay.
just a Vite cache in that case, but
hmm
probably
So
if you
that's
started and stop it and start it back up again, you might not get
yeah.
that error that
So
time.
that's really interesting because I frequently will see errors if you're on like node 14, you should be on 16 or something
Hmm.
like that. But it's rare that I see like a minor version of the correct major version of node throwing an error. So that's
Yeah.
special.
Well, the good thing about that particular error that we saw is that that is being fixed in an upcoming release of Angular. So
Oh,
I know
okay.
it was an issue. Yeah. So of course,
Great.
with those things will like trickle down once that gets released in a patch release, and then I won't have to worry about it anymore, which
Yeah.
which is even
Cool.
better.
So our build did work though, and then if
Yeah.
we
So if you
want
go into
to,
the dist folder in the project, we
yep,
can look at the files there. So we have it creates a few things here. So the Nitro is like the development folder for Nitro, and then it
right.
uses that for pre-rendering. The client folder is what Vite uses to build like the client application,
Mm-hmm.
and then the SSR is the SSR server that Vite uses for the server side rendering. And then once all that's done, then the server slash public is where the your contents go. That's like your fully deployed application there that would have
Great. So why is
those.
it empty right now?
Or there should be some pre-rendered routes in there unless something aired out. But
So is there a way that you can run this dist? Like, is there a preview command?
you should be able to use. Well, I'm not. I don't think I have a preview command in there yet for
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
because
that was
that's
still
something
being
that
worked
I
on.
know Vite by itself can do that, where it's
Hmm.
like you can build something and then kind of like serve that from your computer just to see what's going to
Yeah, I
happen
know you
with
can
it.
serve like the client directory and using like Python. You can use a Python command to do that. So if you go into dist and slash client, or actually you can use the sorry, uh, you can go into the client directory and do npx serve, I believe.
Really? So
Yeah,
like literally like just
yeah.
go
Go
and
to cd,
dist.client like that,
yes, and
and then
then do
MPX.
npx serve. And npx the serve is a project that will like spin up a nice quick
Yeah, this is a
http server. Yeah,
Vercel thing, I think. Okay, cool. It looks like that worked. Okay, let's try and deploy this thing.
yeah, sure.
So, where do you want to deploy it? Let's do. I mean, probably Netlify or Vercel are the main ones that people do. Do you have a preference?
My Netlify is usually my go-to, so
Great.
we can deploy it there.
Yeah, well, eventually want to figure out how to get this deployed on Edgio as I'm contractually obligated to do so. But right
Of
now,
course.
I don't want to do that and then have it break on me. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see what the SSR story is there to deploy on Edgio. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've actually been really enjoying learning Edgio specifically because it's more kind of server first and less static first. Is actually something that Ishan says. It's like an alternate universe where the Jamstack was dynamic first instead of static first is kind of what it's like using Edgio. So it's
Hmm.
really well positioned for this kind of new server first world we're all barreling towards.
Yeah, yeah. I had thought about which still I haven't opened an official issue or anything yet, but at least kind of positioning analog as like a server first. Like you get the SSR and everything like enabled out of the box as opposed to having like to enable and everything. But you can, of course, you can always disable it, but that way you're kind of getting that experience there. Granted everything if everything works correctly of the server side rendering and the static site or being able to generate static pages and everything. So that one's still in the works, but definitely got some thoughts on that one too.
Cool. I'm just gonna get this on a Git repo real quick. I'm not screen sharing right now because something went weird with my Git thing, but I can fix that real
Yeah,
quick.
no problem. But yeah, like I said, we went through a lot of the things that are in analog today, and still looking at doing some more things in the future. But like I said, the main things were, like I said, the things that I call table stakes with meta frameworks today, like file based routing, API routes was another one, and being able to server side render the app was one of the few things, and we kind of went through some of those to be able to do those things in a pretty seamless way.
Okay, there we go. I realized that I was still in that client folder when I tried to
Uh,
commit and do stuff with Git. And I was like, what are you trying to do, buddy? That's not going to work. Okay, I think
yeah,
that.
like Chris said in the chat, Node 16 is the maintenance release. 18 is the new Node LTS. So eight. I know, like I said, we used 18 point, or I've used 18.13.0, and that seemed to work pretty well. But like I said, either way, that error that we were seeing before hopefully will be moved out of the way there
Yep.
soon.
Okay, so we got our thing here, and then that's all you gotta do. Just write run build and then dist. Pretty
Yeah.
straightforward
Well, the
commands,
dist,
right?
yeah, so dist. If you're just deploying like the client, application be dist/client
Yeah.
will be where the files will go there.
So that's what we're gonna want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would be so you just kind of want a netlify.toml file to specify. That would probably
hmm
be a good thing to add.
Yeah, if you were using the API routes and things, then you could use Netlify to configure it to. Well, the good thing about, like I said, going back to Nitro is that it supports a lot of deployment platforms. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
could, it would actually build a Netlify function for you if you're on Netlify. Or even if you're on other services like Edgeo, it'll build like native to that deployment platform instead of
Mm-hmm.
you having to choose a different adapter. And like this happens pretty transparently, so you don't have to necessarily configure it in that way.
I'd be curious, CM Griffin, how you're liking Quick City so far. I haven't played with it yet, but it's on my list of tech that I'm very, very interested in.
hmm
You tried out Quick yet, Brandon?
No, I have not tried out Quick. Well, I have tried it out. I did try it out before. Yeah, it's in that same area. I know you can set the node version in Netlify as a environment variable.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Let's see if that. It looks like it still works. Hello. Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and fix that.
yeah, but
So,
I did try Quick a while back, and I definitely have seen the project take a bunch of strides when I used it before. So um, yeah, Quick was one of the inspiration between the Markdown routes, they could just have where you can just drop a Markdown file in the routes folder and just use that. So definitely got some inspiration from that too.
very cool. Yeah, so it's like so barely using it, just a wrapper for a demo mitosis to library output. Yeah, mitosis is another interesting one, also on my list of things to check out.
hmm
All right, cool. So I changed that node version environment variable, and looks like
Okay.
now using node 16. So that should be all we need to get it going. Yeah, very fun,
Yep.
but very early. Yeah, very early stuff is my favorite. So
Yeah, that was my impression also when I first looked at it. I thought it was a very ambitious project, but it was definitely a change from what has been out there today. And they've definitely made a bunch of strides on like the developer experience side of how you like author components and quick and adding new features and things like that. So it
Mhm.
looks like it's definitely coming a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I like even when people put out there's I think feel like JavaScript fatigue is like come back with a vengeance recently because there's just so many of these like new meta frameworks. Like, I was watching James Q Quick had a video where he was like he was getting all these comments of people being like, stop making new frameworks. And I was like, yeah, I understand, but at the same time it's like I love innovation, and I especially love when like there's a big moonshot, like we want to completely rewire how people think about SSR by creating
Yeah.
resumability and like all that stuff. Like I think that's cool. I like big, bold, new technological advances, even
Hmm.
if they are a little challenging sometimes.
I say, yeah, if that was the case, might not have created analog if
Yeah, totally.
if we weren't doing that part.
Okay, so what were some of the other routes in here that we can test?
Yeah, there was the hello route, and I would try, or let's maybe we have to deploy one more time, but let's change the since everything like uh, built and everything correctly. Let's go back to the deployment and change
Mhm.
the directory that it looks at for deployment, and then
Oh,
maybe
gotcha.
redeploy one more time.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, if we go into the build area there,
So it's just gonna be dist now, or
well, it'll be dist/server/public. That'll be the that should be where the deployment, because this has like built the whole SSR app and like pre-rendered the routes and everything. So we'll at least get a couple of those in there.
totally. Yeah, this is such a good point. Imagine if people said stop making frameworks and then we were just still using Knockout and Ember and Backbone in like
Hmm.
2023. And it's like, because that I don't think that's really what you all want. You think you want that, but
No,
you don't.
no. I mean, people. Of course, people are gonna. I like I said, I built analog. I was scratching an open source itch that I had, and for to put analog out there. But I wouldn't. I would tell people to build what you want. Everybody doesn't have to release their thing as an official thing.
Mhm.
But I would definitely say go ahead and build whatever you try to build whatever you want to build and see how far you can take it. So
Yeah,
so
and no one's forcing you to migrate your production apps to a new
yeah.
framework just because everyone's talking about it on Twitter. So it's like I think
Right.
people have more agency than they think. It's like when they hear everyone talking about some new thing, they're just like, oh, that means I have to use the new thing. It's like, well, not really. It's like you can if you want and if you think it solves a problem for you, but no one's
Hmm.
forcing you to use a new framework.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now let's see. So what should I be going to test this?
The hello route should be. Well, I thought there was had a one there for building that. Let's see, server public.
Um,
Yeah, there should be a couple of ones there if everything pre-rendered correctly, like a slash blog slash my dash first dash post.
Interesting. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
there you go. So that was actually a pre-rendered route there. Of course, of course it'll load when the Java or Angular will take over when the JavaScript loads. But like I said, if you were building a blog or something, you could pre-render these routes, and it still all work with JavaScript turned off.
Awesome.
And today, like when Angular loads, it kind of destroys and recreates the page. But I know that the team is working on making that to where it won't destroy the page, but it'll do um, partial hydration, which of course is what everybody wants it to do, is not like destroy everything and recreate all that work. So
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, we made it. We got a working deployed SSR enabled analog app.
nice.
So that's super, super sweet. So yeah, anything you want to start closing it out with? Other maybe new things you're working on, features, or things that maybe people can help out with if they want to get involved.
Yeah, of course, analog is going to be my go-to. Analog and NGRX. I can't forget about my OG open source project. Definitely check out NGRX. We'll have some stuff coming up soon with because Angular is moving in a different direction with reactivity with signals. And I just recently did a live stream with Alex Rickabaugh from the Angular team, who we talked about what signals are, what they mean as far as the Angular world. So definitely want people to check that out because
And that's
signals
on.
are
I'm assuming that's on your YouTube channel. This one.
yes, yep. You can go to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, great YouTube
Uh,
channel. You are also a frequent streamer. Highly
yep.
recommend people check this out. It's been my window into the Angular world, and I've learned a ton from watching it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I stream on Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, and I think it's 7:30 UTC. So I try to get the people have gotten on me about the time zone stuff, so I try to drop that in there too. So yeah, definitely check that out. And hey, if you want to subscribe to the channel, that wouldn't hurt either. If you're looking for some Angular content there, and I'm looking at maybe branch out on the YouTube channel also, but we'll see. Because a solid JS has been on my radar too, so I'm looking at interested in looking at some of that too.
Dude, yeah, I've been very big into Solid. I shared with you my Solid blog post, Solid Star blog
Mm-hmm.
post. So very hyped on that. So that's kind of like what I'm starting to push is like the thing to learn after you've kind of learned your React and you want to go to the next thing. I feel like it's kind of like a logical progression because
Mm-hmm.
it's simple enough that you don't have to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, but it's different enough to warrant learning a new thing because the benefits are pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I heard there's a cool episode about the Angular renderer on Brandon's
Oh
channel.
yes. Also, shout out to Chow in chat. There's yes, if you want to learn about
Was he
Angular
the
3,
guest for that?
yes, he was the guest. Chow
Awesome.
is the author of the Angular 3 library, which is 3JS and Angular together. And he's done some wizardry with putting all that together. So I'll definitely check that out. You can check that out on the channel too. It's been one of my most popular videos, I must say. Definitely check that one out also. But that's on the YouTube channel there
The
too.
link
Yep.
right here. Yeah, I saw when I saw Chow in the chat, I'm like, I feel like he's someone who I've seen around. So it seems like he's an Angular fellow. That would make sense.
Yep. Fellow Angular GDE and contributor and everything else. So definitely
Very
cool people.
cool. Awesome.
And he also
Well,
streams on Twitch and everything too. So let me
oh,
check his out.
cool. Yeah, I would assume if you all just follow his Twitch link, that should do it. All right. And then we already shared your Twitters and whatnot, but I'll go ahead and drop those just one more time.
Yep. Follow me on all the places. Definitely check out Open Sauce. Highlight your contributions. We want to see more people getting their name out there in open source. So feel free.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. This has been really fun. I learned a bunch, and we'll be putting this video up on my YouTube channel in the next week or so if y'all want to catch this again. And yeah, I think this will about close it out for us.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. Really appreciate it. You guys all have a good day.
Yep. See ya.